Thank you, Erin.
Good afternoon, everyone. And today I'm hoping to tell you what should just be the very beginning of a story about developing an evidence base for speech pathology treatment of people with dementia. So currently in Australia there are over 300,000 people that have dementia, and their primary symptom is a significant impairment in memory. But many of the people with dementia will also experience communication difficulties. And typically this manifests itself as a difficulty finding those words that they need to have a conversation. Now, humans are social beings, and conversation is something that we do all day, every day. If you think about the morning you've had so far and the conversations that you've had with your family members, with your workmates, maybe the people at the coffee shop. Now try to think about having that conversation, but you can't remember the people's names, or you can't find that word to make your point, or you can't remember the name of an everyday object like that coffee that you wanted to order. And so you can see that conversation is linked very closely with our well-being, and also you can imagine that it can be incredibly frustrating to face this all day, every day. And so trying to help people with dementia to find those words and reduce that frustration is the focus of my research. For any of us, when we're trying to find the words, we go through a series of thinking processes in order to do so. So to tell me the name of any of those pictures on the screen, you would first have to do a little bit of a visual analysis, which would go and activate a storage system that's in your brain that contains all of the word meanings of all of the words that you know. That information then gets passed on to the system where it matches the combination of sounds that you'll need to say that word. So people with dementia have difficulty both in finding those words and activating the word meanings. So we'll see errors like if they're trying to say toothbrush, it might be on the tip of their tongue. They'll be able to tell you it starts with a T, but they can't tell you any more information. Or they might give you a word that sounds the same, so something like toilet brush. Or we might have a word that means something similar but isn't quite right. So your grapes might become apples. So what we need to do to help people with dementia is reteach them the links between word, meaning and object. But people with dementia learn differently. And so what we need to do is present information to them repeatedly and give them some incidental opportunities to learn. And that learning needs to happen in the context in which we want to use the information. And so what we can do is we can show them a picture, give them the name and the meaning, and we do this frequently enough that it becomes a bit of a habit. And this sort of approach has been found to help people to tell me what the name of that picture is. But if we think back to those chats that you were having earlier today, I will wager that very few of them involved somebody holding up a picture to you and asking you to tell them what it's called. So you can see that the implications for everyday life are sort of limited. And so what my research does is take the next step, where others haven't, and we're focusing on conversation specifically in therapy. So by carrying out everyday conversation tasks in therapy, we can get over the issue of needing to learn within context. And we're starting to build those associations between word and meaning within the context of tasks like telling me, let's talk about what we want to put on the shopping list to try and target these sorts of words. So by taking that relatively straightforward step in our therapy approach, what we're trying to do is increase word finding within conversation. Now you'll remember that I told you that we're at the very beginning of our story. And so our proof of concept study has given us a few lessons so far. The first of which is that we have been able to improve naming with about up to a 40% increase in accuracy for naming for some of our people with dementia. So the other thing we've learnt is that different types of dementia respond differently to this therapy. And so we're getting more information about who we should target. We've also been looking for an outcome measure that reliably allows us to count finding of words within a conversation, and we're using that now to look at a treatment effect at that conversation level. But importantly, we're making some positive steps towards that next phase of research that's starting to look a bit more at efficacy and ultimately leading to giving us a quality evidence base for speech pathology treatment of people with dementia so that we can really make a difference in their everyday lives. The end.